Thank you, Adam. Really, I mean, 7 years talking Tim and your team at the National Operations Center of Excellence have always uh, done us proud, Adam, and we can't thank you enough for all your support, sincerely. So, anyway, welcome to all our friends across the United States, East Coast, West Coast, and in between. Many of you still, I guess, out west in particular, right, are finishing up your morning or getting ready to. And uh, today we're focused on two next generation TIM technologies: cloud-based single signal preemption for emergency vehicles and UAS for traffic incident management. Uh, be advised that we'll do presenter introductions. I will here in a few minutes after the FHWA update. So with that, don't forget to put your questions into the chat pod or Q&A. We definitely appreciate that. And thing, the webinar usually goes pretty quick, so let's uh, let's do everything we can to make it informative and worthwhile for all that are here today. So as far as Federal Highway TIM updates, we're going to go over the line of duty desks as we normally do. Uh, the national or the next generation TIM resources refresh on the National Operations Center of Excellence, and gearing up once again for Crash Responder Safety Week 2025, which falls on November 17th through the 21st. And very important, the fact that it is our 10-year anniversary for this event that we celebrate, commemorate, and honor our responders in November. We'll also be talking about upcoming webinars of interest to the TIM community. And at the end here, we also have Katie Belmore from our contract team that's going to go over an update on the TIM training website. Next slide. So here you have the progress, if you will, since the last 2 weeks of progress, I should say. And big kudos to these 10 states that have done trained a very very respectable number of responders over the past 2 weeks. So we gotta make a shout out to all these states as we continue, and we know that the TIM training makes a big difference in the fact that we're ensuring that the motoring public gets home safely at night, day, whatever their schedule is. It's a big deal, and we'll go over the numbers a little more in a minute here. Next slide. So here you see the bar graph or chart showing the disciplines trained so far, and in red, how many are to be trained in that discipline. The numbers are always in the rears. We know 15-20% of the training most likely does not get reported across this country, and we always welcome surprises when someone emails me or one of our teammates here to report that they trained X number, whether it's one or hundreds or thousands, and had never reported it. So, but we know we're in the rears all the time, but we're over 800,000. Proud to report to you 800,000 responders trained, all disciplines combined. Next slide. This is the sad part that we've been reporting on the responder struck by line of duty deaths now for, I think, almost every year. But this year is no different. You can see the number there to the right. And as we always say, one is too many. And looks like law enforcement is leading the group again. Last year it was, oh my gosh, in the mid 20s. I think we ended the year with just law enforcement fatalities struck by. Hence why I said that the TIM training plays a big part in how we can hopefully keep these numbers down. Wouldn't it be incredible to not even get halfway to last year's number, for example? Keep doing what you're doing. Please keep doing what you're doing. The TIM training pays off. Next slide. So we have webinars, upcoming webinars that we want to make you aware of. The planned special events, one in particular on June 5th. There's a big project that we're engaged in. My colleagues and team leader, David Johnson and Sharon Cuevas, along with a whole host of other DOT and other stakeholders preparing for the World Cup soccer games across the country. And in particular, these two here, our friend Robert White, previously with AASHTO, and now with Nashville DOT. He's going to be presenting on major special events, as well as Jason Sims from Kansas City's FIFA World Cup planning, traffic management plan checklist. And these webinars, you should take advantage of them because there's a lot of new updated information on how planned special events are managed. And it's important that we always keep learning. And I'm sure in the jurisdiction where you're at, there's a couple probably big events that definitely impact the transportation system. And it's important to know what you're doing, right? And of course, we're going to continue with Talking TIM next month on the 25th. And as I said, Crash Responder Safety Week, all state planning webinar on July 9th. And we want to hear, especially if you're doing anything new in preparation for CRSW 10-year anniversary. But first and foremost, I've got to say the proclamations, just like we've done in previous years, get yourselves geared up and get those governor's proclamations designed and signed. And whether it's a mayoral proclamation or otherwise, we definitely want to hear and see those, literally see those. So November will be upon us very quickly. Next slide. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my dear friend and TIM training contractor extraordinaire, Catherine Belmore.
Thank you, Jim. So we just wanted to take a minute and show you guys the update that we're making to the TIM training site. So I just need to be able to share real quick. Adam. All right, perfect. Thank you. All right. So what you're seeing here is our test version, soon to be live version of the update to the National TIM Responder Training Program site. Now we did just do a little bit of a renaming. We're referring to this portion here where people log in as the trainer portal. So just like before, you have to have completed a TIM Train the Trainer to be able to log in, and that's where you can access all the training materials. But what we've added to this home site that doesn't require a login is just a nice brief overview of the program. And then we are actually able to provide the training statistics in real time on the outside here. So anybody can come see this information. Real quick, I'll caveat to Jim's point, we are over 800,000. This test site is just linked to old data. So as soon as we push it over to live, it'll resync with all the data in the database. So don't worry about the number, it'll be correct. But it'll have all of this information. Then if you scroll down, you can just hover over each state and it's going to tell you the total number of people trained by training type. And then we have our map that, you know, everybody should be familiar with, hopefully, that gives you the percentage of where states are in response to their goal. And again, don't pay too much attention to the numbers. They'll all be updated, but you can see we'll have this interactive availability of the data. And then if you keep going down, we just have a couple of the tables. And then the last thing at the bottom is where you could go and pick your state, whatever it might be, and it's going to show the progress that you're making towards your goal by discipline. So a lot of this is information that's available in the report that's sent out. But like I said, now it'll be available real time. The only thing that will be slightly delayed is the web-based training. That still will be data that we get every 2 weeks and is uploaded. But as soon as anything gets entered in as a training class into the site itself, it will show up here. So we're excited about this update. I'll just take a second to log in and show you guys we're also updating the interface for the what we're now going to refer to as the trainer portal. And it also has that information at the bottom so that you don't have to log in and out to be able to see it. If you log in as a trainer, you'll also be able to see all this interactive information, as well as access the training materials and then record your training just like before. So real quick, I'm also wanted to give a quick update on what we're doing with the training materials themselves. So let me share a different screen. Oops. Here we go. Sorry. So I also just wanted to let everybody know, so we looked at the new site, that we're also finalizing within the next week, version 4.1 of the training materials. And we didn't make a lot of changes to this, but I know the one thing we really wanted to make sure everybody knows is we have got the CAPC certification requirements taken care of, and anybody that you know, from EMS that is looking for credits for CAPC can now do that for all of our courses. And all they have to do now, the PowerPoint will have this slide that you see there at the end, and they just have to download the CAPC app, and then they can just use that QR code and record that they completed classes. So that's probably the biggest change to the PowerPoints, is the addition of that QR code. And I want to make sure people understand it is specific to each set type or each training. So the Train the Trainer has one QR code, the 4-hour training has another, and then also the instructor-led virtual training has one. So each PowerPoint will have the correct QR code to allow us to start even more improving the numbers of individuals that are able to get that credit. And then we are just finalizing all of the support materials. We'll have the new certificate you can see there. We'll have the student handout. I know a lot of people have been looking for that, as well as the template for the announcement. And we'll have that stuff not just for version 4.1 of the training materials, but we'll also have the TIM refresher training out there. So the refresher training is just a 1 hour refresher, and we're giving it under the assumption that people have already taken the 4 hour class or already completed one of the online versions of the training. So we really pared it down and focused on the content related to responder safety and temporary traffic control. And then you can see we tried to make it really clear in the PowerPoint. We're not going into the details on MUTCD or that common road and lane designation terminology. We're not going to cover ICS. And then, the whole lesson 7 that covers scene hazards and other considerations. And then, so if anybody is not really familiar with those materials, we would recommend that they go back and take the 4 hour again. So all of that will be available. We'll send out an email next week when everything is uploaded. And then the new site is up, so you guys can go check it out and look at the materials, and certainly let us know if there's any enhancements you would like us to make. But we're really excited to be able to give people the opportunity to access that information in real time. So with that, I will stop sharing and turn it back to you, Jim.
Fantastic, Katie. Great job as usual. And I want to stress that it took a sizable effort to bring you what Katie just presented here, to make it easier for those that are not trainers, that are not graduate train the trainer trainers, to still access the data in real time. I don't know if you realize that fact, that this is a game changer, and of course, it's not for everyone, but certainly the 200 or more participants that are here, you're welcome to get on there and see where your state is in terms of the TIM training. And so we think it's a big deal, and we hope you enjoy that and take advantage of it for sure. So we have some questions here. We have about 20 minutes left, and I'm going to get right to a couple for Bruce and Laramie, pardon me. What, if any, authorizing by the region was needed for emergency responder signal priority? Bruce or Laramie?
I think the question is referring to maybe other agencies within a region, other emergency service providers. And
sounds like it.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes. And to my knowledge, we have not really involved other agencies. In this particular area, there are occasionally emergency vehicles from another city, city of Shoreline or city of Bellevue might respond. And currently they would not be eligible for cloud preemption. That could be set up pretty easily though.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen from my side too, is if there is that motivation for mutual aid, having other jurisdictions come into your jurisdiction and use your preemption, that is a city to city or city to county conversation. But with all that we see in terms of the capabilities of newer controllers, it allows for a lot of flexibility within the system.
Absolutely. Another one for you guys. What guidance might you offer for other regions considering cloud-based signal preemption technologies for emergency response?
I would say do it. it's just a very effective way to get your emergency vehicles to the scene faster and safely. It does require NTCIP traffic signal controllers. So there is if you have older legacy equipment or proprietary type of firmware in your signal cabinets, then you may need to replace some software or equipment. And you need highly reliable communication. But other than that, you're pretty much good to go.
Yeah,
Go for it.
yeah. From my standpoint, we really encourage agencies that are thinking about it, jurisdictions that are thinking about it, to just pilot. There are a lot of opportunities because there's nothing in the cabinet, nothing on the vehicles. It's a pretty quick thing to spin up. And at the end of it, we really want cities to fully vet the system. Don't give it the easy intersections way out of town. Give it the challenging ones and try it during difficult times of day. And there is so much data that you can iterate really quickly. Try one strategy on Monday, try one strategy on Tuesday. And by Wednesday, you would have the data to see which is the best for your unique operating environment.
Absolutely. Question for you, Ryan, similar to Laramie and Bruce. What, if any, authorizing by the state was needed for use or use cases of drones?
A lifetime of paperwork filing. I would file more paperwork than I fly. And I always, I never wanted to be in that position, but yes. I will say the FAA has been amazing here lately with a lot of their efforts to get law enforcement underway. But I saw there was a question too for, can DOT and law enforcement both use drone dock and with Caltrans in Alaska? The answer is yes. If I had to do a quick explanation of it, currently drone docks are being operated from state agencies under public and civil operations. Caltrans, for example, operates under Part 107 and Alaska operates as a public agency. Each individual agency that utilizes that asset needs to either have a COA, which is a certificate of authorization from the FAA, and prior training that allows for them to operate that system either from Skydio or DJI or any of the other dock manufacturers. So FAA is not the item that is, I would say, roadblocking it. A lot of it at the moment is this technology finally is getting authorized. We're seeing beyond visual line of sight operations opening up for many departments. It's really just how fast states are adopting it, learning from their mistakes, failing, or as we're doing, partnering together with other states so that we kind of crowdsource this and all learn from each other at the same time, which is really the benefit of all of this is taking what
Absolutely.
works someplace else, making our own flavor, improving upon it, and sharing it back with the group. So hopefully that answers the question. Is yes, there are it's basically just installing these docks, installing these technologies, cloud first on a lot of these pushes, and getting the correct partners in line to start testing and deploying these systems.
Yes, thank you for that. So another one for you, Ryan. What has the public perception been to the use of drones for emergency response?
We've spent a lot of time, well, especially with this, it's like, hey, do you mind if we install this suspicious looking box in your neighborhood? Yes, I mean, we spent a lot of time, especially with Wrangell, where we had the landslide. We did have some folks that lost their lives in that landslide. And so we had to treat a lot of the data with sensitivity, but we did a lot of outreach with the community, with a lot of the students, with a lot of the folks of, hey, this dock is going out there, but what this is doing is it's checking to make sure, ground's not moving. So, we're not just showing up in these places, these communities, but we're making sure these communities understand, hey, that tool is keeping us safe. That tool is doing its job there. And we're definitely looking at that, especially with some of our SOAR initiatives, where we'll be installing these docks throughout Alaska, Hawaii, Oregon, and Washington, and testing these different environments. What works well in Western Alaska, with a limited population, probably will not work well in the heart of LA.
Sure.
I think that's exactly what we're looking forward to. Is we're going to fail our way through this together. find and learn from our mistakes and continue building these. But public outreach is a crucial item so that folks are aware of what's inside that blinking box that's sitting here making a noise and takes off every couple of minutes. So
Yeah, I remember our first exposure to UAS drones was the city of Chula Vista in Southern California. The police department there, they were launching drones from their I guess police headquarters to mostly for police activity, but ultimately were started to use it for traffic incident management. So we had a really cool collaboration with them for a while. I have another question for Bruce and Laramie. What future traffic signal upgrades may be a priority for existing signal systems before cloud-based EVP can be implemented?
I would just say reliable communication and an NTCIP traffic signal controller. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the benefits of data standards is, I mean, light and cloud TSP would not exist, and EVP would not exist without data standards. And so it's just making sure that when you are looking for that signal modernization plan, that they adhere to data standards, because they enable a lot of plug and play, a lot of a lot of interoperability. And so a lot of companies and a lot of folks talk about interoperability, but data standards are the proof of that. And so making sure that they can speak the same language to each other is key.
Yeah. What would you say to what would you say to municipalities, owner authorities that are considering EVP? And I know TSP has been around a long time, and the old, original Opticom systems and all that before the cloud-based stuff that you guys specialize in. And the reason I asked that question is because we don't know of too many jurisdictions, municipalities, like I said, and other areas that are employing EVP. What Why is that, do you think? Or is it the cost overall, or maintenance, or all the above?
In my opinion, it's a lack of data. And I think without data, you don't see maybe how bad things are. You especially if there was a legacy EVP system that was purchased and installed, you think you have something, but without the data to prove its efficacy, you don't. You may not be motivated to look elsewhere. You can kind of get anecdotal evidence from fire chiefs, but without the data to prove it, you may not see how far the floor has dropped out from the system that you purchased maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Jim?
And who was
Sorry,
that?
this is Vaishali. There's a bunch of questions still in the Q&A. May I bring some of those up to surface?
Didn't we field a bunch in the Q&A earlier?
Right. When we answer them in the Q&A, it only goes to the person who has been asking the question more often. So we try to ask them verbally as well so that everyone can hear the response.
Okay. Go ahead, Vishali.
Yes, so one of the questions was from Sean Laffey. In addition to the observed increase in green time for emergency vehicles, have you also realized any other benefits that Laramie mentioned, such as improved response time? And have you encountered any challenges with using the cellular network to request green signals, particularly during high volume events like football games?
So it looks like
I don't know
Bruce answered that.
I'll chime in quickly. I think that answer only went to Sean. So for everyone's benefit, I'll repeat that. So the first question about reduction in fire response times. We've heard anecdotally the drivers are highly confident that they're getting faster response time. We have not investigated, but we can and we will do that from our dispatch data. Second question was, I think was asking whether at major events like a football game when there's a lot of cellular traffic, if there's any reduction in service or communication. And I haven't not aware of anything there. Our traffic signal communication is typically fiber optic that would be immune to that, but it's possible that the apparatus is competing with other cellular traffic. Laramie can probably speak to that better.
Yeah, and I can just say a bit under the hood is that that's one of the ways that we use machine learning is to kick out a lot of that GPS noise. Because especially where there's a lot of competing signals, especially in, urban canyons, you can get a lot of noise. And so that's one of the ways that we use machine learning is to kick out the sources that we see as unreliable in that moment.
Excellent. And then there was a question about how long the video is stored. And if so, who could potentially make use of that in terms of the light video that you demoed?
Totally. Yeah. So I think our default is to store all this information for a year. But that's completely customizable based on jurisdictional needs. I know if there are insurance requirements, grant reporting requirements, all of those can be tailored, but off the shelf, it's about a year.
Okay. And I think there was also a question for Ryan on, given the large volume of data, how is the storage and processing of that data better managed? And I personally have a question of how, if any way, is that data being shared with the broader Alaska DOT enterprise for other uses?
Yeah, so that was kind of the problem that we walked ourselves into, is we gave everybody access to these data creation devices. And I'll be the first to tell you, we didn't know that we were going to redline all of our drives. I started with IT, was not big fans of us because we broke our network pretty fast. Shortly after that, we kind of went back to the drawing board where we structured, hey, here's all the data we're creating. Here's what can be stored. Here's what can be deleted. And so we went into that as we went into partnership with Esri, where they came in and kind of did a full system analysis of, hey, here is how we store items. Here's what goes into the geo database. And from there, we started breaking down a lot of the silos. Is now we can search all of our imagery that's created. As well as publish that to we have an Alaska Geospatial Council, which is all state agencies. So all imagery that's created by public agencies is available to the public. And so that then gets sourced up there from our image server. Same thing with video. Anything that is project related, we save for a year before it is deleted. But that's kind of where we're pushing a lot of it is, hey, we are bringing everything, we're processing it on-prem. So that's another big item is, unlike the rest of you guys, I saw there's a couple folks from Alaska, but the rest of the folks in the contiguous United States, we don't have fast access to data centers. And so we have started building smaller edge compute centers around our state that we can send data to, process it, cut all the fat off, and only lift the final product to the cloud or Azure Washington Data Center West, which cuts down on a lot of our ingress costs to the cloud by not putting all of the raw imagery, putting the final product, moving it around. It's just a simple lift and we're done. So we're limited on bandwidth to the cloud and those items, edge compute, and having that pre-processing has done a lot for us into the geodatabase and environment that we have there for sharing all of that information, both geo-rectified and orthomosaics and video across our enterprise system.
Very
Well,
good strategy.
with that, we have 4 minutes left, and I want to first thank Ryan, Bruce, and Laramie for their time and outstanding presentations to the National TIM community. We still have over 140 participants with us today, and a huge thank you to all of them. I always take a couple looks at the participant list, and I see many of our champions, our partners across the nation that are interested in everything that you guys do. And I want to, besides sharing these resources here, these links to various resources, I want to say that the next 3 Talking Tims webinars are going to cover topics from the Everyday Count 7 Next Generation TIM Technologies for Saving Lives. Our contract team is already preparing of the 46 states, I think it is, that participated in EDC 7 Next Gen TIM. Over those months, starting in June, July, and August, the Talking Tim platform that we're on here today, Adam, and of course, Executive Director Nick Ramphos, that was also joined us today, are very kindly going to let us conduct those EDC 7 webinars over the next 3 months. So make sure, if you're not registered, that you do that top URL there, and all the rest of those URLs there contain a lot of very important information, including the self-assessment, by the way. Let's see. Vishali,
Yeah.
anything else we missed? We got 2 minutes, and then I want to say goodbye.
No, I think there were a couple of questions about the training site, and it will be live within the week or so, and you'll get a formal announcement from the team on that. And I know there
Yeah.
were some questions we didn't quite get to, but we'll save that for a future effort, I presume. So,
Yes.
great
And
presentations today. Great
yeah,
information.
indeed. And many thanks to you, Vishali, for all your work making this happen. And I think that's a wrap. So everyone stay safe, keep doing great things, and head on a swivel, as we say. Out of your car on our nation's roadways, a very dangerous place to be. So God bless. Take care, everyone.